Hi, third graders. It's Mrs. Linderman. We're going to talk today about Treasure in the Trees, and we're on lesson 6 today. Before we start, let's look at your learning target for today. I can describe characters in a story and explain how their actions contribute to the sequence of events. Okay, let's think about those turn and talk questions that we have. I want you to think back. You've read now a few chapters. How would you describe Nisha's parents to someone who didn't know them? And how would you describe Nisha? What are some things that you think about her and about her parents? We're going to spend some time today looking at Nisha's dad, at that character from the story. So let me show you a little chart here. Now, writers or authors in a story, they show what the characters are like, how they think and feel, what they do by showing us with a description, by telling us the dialogue that they have with the characters, and by showing us their actions. So let's think back to the story. On page, 17 and 18, Nisha is trying to show her parents her secret. She's trying to get them to come with her to the tree. And on page 16, we learn a little bit about Nisha's dad. So I want you to be thinking about describing her dad. What are some things that he says? And what are some things that he does? What are his actions? And what does that kind of tell us about him as a person? Okay. If I go back on page 16, she's trying to get them to come, right? And he says, "What are you doing, Nisha?" "I was washing the dishes and I still have work to do." So he's talking to her using some dialogue. I'm going to move this out of the way. Right? So that's what he says. "What are you doing? I still have work to do." Right? What does that tell you about him as a person? Think about that for just a second. What does he actually end up doing? Right? In the story, it shows us he sighs after he says that, but he follows her. So that means he kind of gives in and he does what she wants, a little reluctantly, but he follows along, right? So he goes with her. It also describes him in the story on page 16, right? It describes him as having steely eyes or a steely look. Okay? So when we put all these things together, right? His look, the way he's looking, the things that he says, the way he says it, and then his actions, right? He sighs but still follows her. That makes me think that Nisha's dad is someone who's maybe very impatient, right? He doesn't have a lot of time right now to be doing this, and her parents kind of aren't taking her seriously in this story so far. I want you to be thinking about the characters in the story, the other ones, especially Nisha and her mom. Think about Dr. Robinson too, as you learn a little bit more about him, her teacher. So it's not enough just to read the words on the page. You need to really think about the characters in the story and what they're doing, what their actions are, what they say, how the author describes them. That gives you a real good glimpse into what they're like as a person. What are their character traits on the inside? Not what they look like so much on the outside, right? But his steely look. So he's kind of focused in and kind of maybe his brow is furrowed and he's, he doesn't seem very interested and he's a little impatient. So today when you work on your assignment, be thinking about the characters in the story and dig a little bit deeper. Okay, think about them not just on the surface, but think about those characters deep down.